All right, welcome in-game live game day here on this Saturday. Off and running our final hour together. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio. Plenty going on in college basketball. We got a big game coming up in the NBA, game number 2 today, as Minnesota, the Timberwolves at home, welcome in the red-hot Denver Nuggets. That game getting ready to tip off here in about 10 minutes. We've got Rutgers and Michigan State at Madison Square Garden right now, 47-43. Rutgers hanging tight without their best player, Dylan Harper, who was a late scratch. And, oh, yeah, the number 3 Iowa State Cyclones are down 7 on the road to Arizona State, who is hitting everything that they throw up. 1.5 is what you can get Iowa State right now. And Tom, we welcome in our good friend Mark Zinno, and I think all three of us were just in agreement that, I mean, tell me, Zinno, 1.5, I'm willing to take a fly. Arizona State at some point is not going to shoot 60% for the game from 3.
Well, and that's really the rub of the whole thing. I mean, you have to just kind of look at the game breakdown so far at this point in time because as you mentioned, it's 50% from 3. It's 54% from the field. Arizona State is not that good of a shooting team. If you look at their season numbers and everything else. Oh, by the way, it was a tie ball game at 30-all with 2 minutes left in the first half. So a couple of bounces go a wrong way, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a 7-point hole. I think it's an ideal spot to hop on Iowa State. I took them at -1.5 just because I didn't think it was worth paying -140 on the money line at this point. But nonetheless, this is a very good Iowa State shooting team. Again, 43% from the field, 40% from 3. They're not playing bad. They just had a couple of bad bounces go their way. And again, I don't see Arizona State keeping up the 6 for 12 shooting from 3.
Yeah, on a loaded slate, I'm just saying, on a loaded slate, where else are you looking? Because Florida's in action, Bama's in action, Auburn, Kansas, Houston. What else do you have on tap today? Because we've talked about obviously these games throughout the day. A lot of love for some Kansas today, on Auburn today. What do you got?
Well, top 25, I mean, I'll focus there just because there's some of the bigger games here. And look, I look at it and I go, I think it's way too many points for Florida to be laying to Georgia at this point in time. Florida, and they have a really rough stretch ahead of them. But Georgia's lost 3 in a row. They feel pretty desperate. That's a spot where I'll take the points here. I would not play Missouri. I don't trust them. Ole Miss, better shooting team. I don't think Missouri is a top 25 team in the country. And if they weren't, would they be favored in this game? I don't know that they would be. And that's just kind of the difference. I don't want to lay points with them at all. Tennessee, Auburn, I think, goes over tonight at 140.5. The last time these two teams played in Knoxville, it was a 92-84 final. I know Auburn's missing Johnny Broom, but I don't. That doesn't prohibit Auburn from scoring a lot of points. And Tennessee has reached 70 in 4 of their 6 conference games. One of them, they got to 68 last time out against Mississippi State because they were blowing them out. They didn't need to push anymore. And I certainly am not laying 17.5 at Alabama. It's another game where they're not going to have to push to score all that much here to win this game comfortably. And I think the back door is wide open late. I just don't see them covering that big of a number here. So that's where I go across the top 25 tonight.
What did you do with this Kentucky-Vandy game? We played the over because with these two teams, how in the world are we not getting that start? But did you lay it with Vandy?
No, I think Vandy was the right side here. It was the spot that I had eyed up all the way. I mean, Vandy, as a home dog against Kentucky was a great spot for me. Vanderbilt's a tough place to play. Look, Vanderbilt, we don't think of them right now, but that's a team I think is better than Missouri. I think they're much closer to being a top 25 team than Missouri is at this point in time. And Kentucky just hard to trust. It's not a team that I have a whole bunch of faith in due to their inconsistency. Again, I know that they have won a lot lately, but again, you get blown out by Ohio State at home. You lose to Georgia pretty handily. I get the track meet with Alabama, but it's just like, I don't know which team shows up night in and night out. So I have a hard time trusting Kentucky, especially as a road favorite.
Are we looking at anything else? Because, I was looking at Oregon before, and Minnesota's terrible. Like, I think Minnesota's absolutely terrible. And granted, Oregon's not amazing, but, and I think the ranking is a little bit much on them, but 4.5 seems like the right side, and I just don't want to trust Minnesota at any point.
No, I mean, look, home win, OT win over Michigan, road win over Iowa. The Gophers here, like, yeah, I didn't see that one coming. That's for darn sure. But Oregon on the road here, it's a curious play. I mean, again, I don't believe that they make trap spreads, but this feels like a way too short of a number for Oregon, right? Like, it just – I would have made the number closer to 6 or 7, and that would have felt a little bit more within line with what I thought this number would have been. It's a game I'd stay away from. You put a gun to my head, in theory, Oregon should just be able to outshoot Minnesota and outscore them with the tempo that they play.
Yep.
So just a little bit of a curious spot. You know, the only other thing that I had, guys, on my card tonight, last game that tips off out in Provo, Utah. Give me BYU. I got a great number early at -5.5. I think it's playable up to 7, to be honest with you, -6.5. So, look, BYU, first game back on campus with the students there. Night game, ESPN. Yep. They're an incredibly good shooting team at home. They shoot 51% from the field at home. They make 48% of their threes at home. I know Cincinnati's a very good defense, but they just don't have the offense to keep up with the Cougars here in this spot. Cincinnati can't make threes on the road. They're terrible at the free throw line. I think this game may be close early, but I just see a way where BYU pulls away late. And guess what? If Cincinnati gets down by a whole bunch early, do you really trust the Bearcats offense to shoot their way back into this thing on the road? Because I don't. So give me the Cougars tonight, -5.5, -6.
It feels like UConn's run of luckiness might be coming to an end too here, Zin, against Xavier here tonight. Xavier's been playing great lately under the radar. Everyone keeps pricing UConn like it's the UConn of the last couple of years. There are some gaping holes in this team here that can't be filled, and I think Xavier at home with Fremantle returns the favor since they lost in overtime to them in Bridgeport there.
Absolutely. Look, I mean, other than St. John's, you know, Xavier plays really good against everybody else.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, God, what a gut punch loss that was. If you had Xavier +7.5, they're up by 10 at halftime. They get tied and they lose by 8 in OT. Oh, God, that must have been miserable. Thank God I just bet St. John's second half. But, yeah, look, UConn is not the same team, right?
No.
You keep thinking, it's one of those teams where you keep thinking, hey, they're going to snap out of it. Hey, they're going to snap out of it. They're going to be like the championship team. They're just not that team.
Yep.
That's really what it boils down to. And Bobby Hurley could scream at the refs and the best coach in America all you want. That doesn't mean you have the best players in America.
Doesn't matter.
And that's what it is. Sean Miller will absolutely get revenge, and that gave you the right side for me.
We were talking about Duke before. What's your take on this? Because, you know, Joe and I were talking like, is this the Wake spot tonight? Getting 11.5 with Wake?
I mean, everybody is saying that. You see a number like that in a conference game for an 8-0 team, right? And you're like, no way. There's a reason why it's an 11-point spread would be my first reaction. Like to say, okay, let's think long and hard about this here, about the delta between Duke and Wake. Like Wake's a good team, right? But you're talking about a team that's 167th in offensive efficiency going up against a team that's number 2 in defensive efficiency. That's the issue, right?
Yep.
Like, Duke can easily lock down. Like, if you're going to play Wake, Joe, you know what I do right here. You play them first half home.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
They're not within 7 in the first half. They're done. Duke has just too much offense, and they don't have enough. So it's Duke first half. If they're in it, great. If they're not, they're dead anyway.
Let's talk some NBA when we get back. In-game live game day continues here on the grid.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri, Tom Vecchio. Welcome back in. Our friend Mark Zinno here to talk a little association quick. And Mark, a couple of interesting games coming up here tonight, but one of them, well, two of them really, are rematches from what we just saw a couple of nights and days ago here during the week. Talk to me here, Zinno, about this Cleveland at home getting ready to take on the Houston Rockets. If they would make a free throw, we'd be having a different conversation. But as it turns out, they couldn't make their free throws. Houston wins. Now Cleveland on a losing streak? Like, what is going on here?
I mean, look, I played Philadelphia last night getting the 10.5 just because situationally, you know, it screamed to take the spot here as much as playing on Philadelphia is an absolutely miserable existence. I didn't think the Cavaliers were going to lose the game outright. I thought they would just be a little flat, win the thing by 4 or 5, and focus on the Rockets here. But this is a clear revenge spot for the Cavaliers after missing 2 of 3 free throws by Darius Garland right at the buzzer there and losing by 1 point in a game that they should have won. Cavaliers are going to take it out on the backside of the Houston Rockets, whose defense is not as good on the road as it is at home. I understand the Rockets rather are a really good team and they're fundamentally sound, but this is a Cavaliers team that has bigger things in mind and a bigger picture, and they want to stomp everybody out. This was at 3.5 earlier. It's up to 4.5 now. I'd still hammer it with Cleveland. I think this is probably playable close to 6, just because I don't think they show any mercy to Houston tonight at all, especially losing 2 straight. You know what the Cavs haven't done all year long, Joe? Lose 3 straight.
Yeah, I'm looking at this game, and I'm interested in Garland over rebounds, not just because of what happened, but we also see Evan Mobley listed as questionable. So, like, let's get a full effort from Cleveland if he's not in there. Sure. Kind of a little making up for what I don't want to say he failed to do. It happens in games, but man, come out with that energy tonight. And then we're also talking about the Hawks game at break, 4.5. And listen, losing to the Raptors multiple times, that can't be happening, right?
It shouldn't. But again, it's the same number they had 2 nights ago where I played on Atlanta because the Raptors were 1-19 on the road. They are now 2-19 on the road. If the Hawks lose back-to-back games to the worst team on the road in basketball, in the Toronto Raptors, there's going to be some shaking here in the Atlanta area. I mean, look, you know, I thought you were going to end up having to pay a premium on the Hawks in this game. I thought they would have pushed it up 2 more points. They're saying there's no way that it's exactly what we're all thinking. There's no way they're losing 2 in a row. There's no way they're going to lose to the Raptors. The Raptors are going to win back-to-back road games. Well, odds makers put that same number up there 2 nights ago as they did right today as they did 2 nights ago. So it feels very, very dangerous to lay with the Hawks at this point in time. I thought really we were going to see an inflated number, and it would have been a good spot to back Toronto, not to win the game per se, but just to keep it close. They're really, really tough call. I'll probably sit back and stay off this one and keep your fingers crossed to see if Atlanta doesn't have the dubious distinction to losing back-to-back road games to the Raptors.
And I don't get it, though, either, because the total is going down. I mean, it's Atlanta at home, and Toronto plays nothing but overs. Yeah,
I know. It stayed under last time because Atlanta got down so quick. You know, like it was impossible. We got to 104. I mean, you know, if I was going to do anything here, I would play Atlanta's team total over and rely on the fact that, one, the Hawks don't play defense, right? I mean, they did give up 120 last time out to the Raptors. So if they're going to be in this thing, even if they don't cover the number, in theory, they should get to 120 on their home floor against one of the worst defenses in the league.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yep.
Yeah, are we looking at Bucks Clippers? Because, Joe, you have a lot of interest in this game, and this one wasn't initially on my radar just because I view it as mostly a coin flip at 3.5, again, because everyone is healthy, where I think there are other spots that take advantage of in the market because there are so many injuries. You actually get a team at a better price before that injury news comes out because that's just what I like to do. But Bucks Clippers, I have a tough time with, Mark.
I don't want to step in front of Milwaukee right now. I mean, granted, again, They won all 5 games at home, right? They're going out on the road, cross-country trip. So situationally, it sets up for it. But remember, the Clippers are finishing up a homestand here, getting ready to go out on the road. So, you know, I don't want to step in front of Milwaukee, but the fact that they're a dog here seems pretty appetizing to me. It would be Milwaukee or pass.
It does. I mean, they are just red hot, Zed. You're absolutely correct. I mean, they've won 8 of 9. They've won their last 5. They actually had that break because the New Orleans game was postponed, so they were able to rest all these guys. And my goodness, you want to give me that many against a – granted, the Clippers are all healthy, but is Kawhi Leonard even close to 100% Kawhi Leonard? No, I don't. But they are – in their new home, 16-4. So they do seem to have some sort of home court advantage rolling their way, which is kind of crazy here. But that's your late game tonight, 10:30 Eastern time. Should be a good one there. Zin, we appreciate the knowledge and the input as always, brother. We'll see you again here on In-Game Live Game Day. And Vec, we got a whole lot going on here as the Timberwolves continue to roll right now, 17-11 right now. We're seeing them out in front, jumping on Denver, who, by the way, also happens to be one of the worst first half teams this season that we've seen. Yeah.
And when it comes to Denver, like I don't want to say like trust the process when it comes to what they're doing, but they just are the better team. And the inefficiency that they have, a slight bit of variance in first halves or first quarters, I think that will all smooth out as the game goes on. And Jokic is just going to do his thing, and we're going to see this game, I'm going to say, push to the over, and we're going to see some scoring from, of course, Denver in the second half.
I'm going to be looking to jump in on Denver. I hope they're down at the half because they have been a much better second half team and a terrible first half team. So I'm with you. I think we can get the prices there. We've seen Minnesota also crumble as the game goes on in these second halves here. So, really big time shocker there. All right, we will run down the scoreboard when we get back. We got a lot going on in college hoops right now. Some updates for you as In-Game Live Game Day rolls on this Saturday here on the SportsGrid Network.
It's Championship Sunday. Can rookie sensation Jaden Daniels clip the Eagles' wings on his way to Super Bowl history? Then, two teams that know each other all too well face off in the AFC in the Bills and Chiefs. SportsGrid has you covered all day Sunday. Start at 7 a.m. with FST, followed by Pro Football Today. And stay with us for in-game live game day. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio as we are keeping our eye out in a number of spots here right now. College basketball at the break. It's been all Vanderbilt right now, Tom. 41-27. Kentucky went cold towards the end of the first half, and now they trail. They trail big time here by 14. In-game number now there, Tom. And Kentucky was a 2.5-point favorite. What do we think we have now?
9.5. They're,
wow.
Vandy's laying 9.5, which is obviously a dramatic swing. But, we were interested in the total, which was 165, 166, which is now down to 154.5. So depending on where you were looking there. Outside of that, we did see Mississippi State and South Carolina go to overtime, which is interesting. Obviously, that game featured absolutely no scoring, and somehow South Carolina brought it back to keep things close. I'm seeing 3 points down with just about 15 seconds left. Obviously, Creighton turned up the offense in a big way, and now we're up by 22 points over Seton Hall. We jumped in at 5.5 or 6. That's obviously looking great, and if you still have Creighton from the pregame number at 15 or 16, wherever it was, you're looking pretty good there as well. And then Iowa State now has brought things back. They're down by 2 points. We jumped in at -1.5. They're up to -4.5 now. And, of course, A&M is running away with things over Texas.
Yeah, A&M really handling business. Did not like this Texas team at all. They've played nobody. They've beaten up the lesser teams, but 43-25. That's a whooping happening right now. And I'm trying to think second half right now, Kentucky. Well, actually, what about Boston College, North Carolina? How did we end up in the first half on that one?
BC, surprisingly, kept it within a point. It's 46-45 in favor of UNC.
Wow.
You're still getting 12.5 points for Boston, for BC, when it was 20-ish that UNC was laying. It's got a sky-high total at 171 at this point.
A 171. Absolutely unbelievable. This is, what a turn of events here. A couple of games at the break. And I'm still thinking, man, North Carolina, do we think they're going to run away with it in the second half? That one is tough here. I'm seeing a second half total also 86 for Kentucky and Vandy. I don't expect Kentucky to only get 27 points again in the second half here. The question is, the tempo will be there, so it's a matter of just, do some of these shots start to fall? If they do, boy, this could be a wild second half, and somebody could score 50 points here with no problem.
Yeah, I'm looking at now with Kentucky. They shot 4-14 from 3 in the first half.
Yeah,
and Vandy shot 7 of 18. So,
yep.
I mean, listen, Kentucky got to the line. Kentucky got to the line twice. They were 1 of 2 for so. And granted, Vandy was only 0 of 2. So, a few more shots start falling for Kentucky. They would have, let's call it 33 points. Like, this game would be within striking distance, even just to come away with a win.
I agree. And I think there's going to be some opportunity in that game. We are waiting, of course, Georgia and Florida coming up here in just a couple of minutes. Florida, I'm seeing 11 and a half, 148 and a half is the total. And I don't think that's probably high enough. Also, as we know, Florida more than capable of scoring themselves at least 80 points at home here against this Georgia Bulldogs team.
A lot of points expected. Yeah, 148. It's funny. Mark was on the other side of this. He said 11 and a half was a bit much for Florida, considering the schedule that they have coming up. So 148 in that one. I almost want to. I'm still going back to this spot for Oregon at 4.5. Like, it is the right side as we were discussing, but
yes,
I don't know if that's like a number I trust to lay. So maybe, hopefully, they start off slow. Minnesota gets some points. You get them at 1.5 in game. That would be the spot to take them because they are the better team. They come away with the win. They don't cover the pregame number.
Yeah, I love Oregon in this spot, especially they're home, correct? Oregon, or are they on
Minnesota.
the road?
At Minnesota.
Yeah, they're at the barn. So, yes, and I tell you this, I'd even look at them early in that game. Maybe even the first half, I would take a look at Oregon going into the break by pushing around Minnesota here a little bit. We got an update from Minnesota against the Nuggets. We'll talk about that. In-game live continues on the grid.
It's Championship Sunday. Can rookie sensation Jaden Daniels clip the Eagles' wings on his way to Super Bowl history? Then, 2 teams that know each other all too well face off in the AFC in the Bills and Chiefs. SportsGrid has you covered all day Sunday. Start at 7 a.m. with FST, followed by Pro Football Today. And stay with us for in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the SportsGrid Network, as we've got plenty of action on the hardwood here, including the NBA. We saw Indiana exact a little revenge earlier in France to come back and beat San Antonio 136-98. Now, Tom, I'm seeing the Denver Nuggets trailing early here, 35-31, still in the first quarter. And I don't know what the numbers are in front of me, but I can tell you this: if the scoring pace is going to continue like this, then I don't think that's a game plan Minnesota is going to be able to win this game long term. But like we said, if you can give me Denver at plus money at some point here towards the second half, I'm willing to jump in and back them again.
Yeah, things have gotten a ton of scoring, and what we said was 229 and a half. That number jumped up to in the terms of the total. It's up to 243 and a half. Is so high, and I am seeing Denver at plus 110, it's plus 114. It's jumping around on the money line at least, so you can get them just outright to win at plus money. Huge first quarter from Jokic, as you know, surprise with 13 points, and first quarter's not even over yet. 38-31. I'm seeing plus 120 on the money line for the Nuggets right now. It's been a pretty balanced approach from the Timberwolves overall. 8 points from Randall, 7 from Rudy Gobert, which is a surprise. Even 5 points from Naz Reid off the bench. Slow start from Anthony Edwards, just the 2 points, but getting into a barn burner back and forth with the Nuggets is probably not the route the Timberwolves A wanted to go, or B will ultimately come away with the win.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you there. I don't think that does them any good whatsoever. In fact, I also give it one more quarter. We'll take a look here. Second quarter, of course, means they're probably going to the bench. The backups here, and I'm not exactly thrilled with Minnesota's. Don't love Denver's either, but we'll see what we can do once we get the Joker back into play here. Also, a quick look back. We did jump in on Iowa State at the break. They were down 7. I'm seeing it's tied now, Tom. What are you seeing as a number there?
Tied, Iowa State 4.5 that they're laying. So if you grab them at minus 1.5, as we were talking about, that is great. Mississippi State obviously looks like they're coming away with the win, 61-58. I don't know if there's gonna be extra free throw attempts, but the under was the clear play in that. It was at 138. Which I said from the jump, that was the spot to be looking. Kentucky, Vanderbilt about to start the second half in just a few minutes. And then the second half underway for BC at UNC, and that is still tied up at 50 apiece. And then A&M running away with things, or continue to run away with things as they'll get ready for the second half versus Texas.
I think that, and I think that game is going to be very, very ugly. I do think the first couple of minutes for Kentucky are going to be vitally important. They're going to need to get out and get running in this one here. I think this is going to be pretty telling coming up in the first 5 minutes of this game for the University of Kentucky, who has just been kind of boat race there. The shot's not falling in on the road at Vandy from 3. And, as they go, I believe, 3-2 in the SEC, 3-3 for Vanderbilt, but they need to make some threes here if they're going to be anywhere even remotely close to getting back into this game down 14 points as they just tipped off, ready to go here. Rutgers' final 2.5 minutes of that game there just kind of fell apart in the second half and just were not able to get anything offensively going. 69-56 now in the final 2.5. It feels like that's all she wrote for Rutgers here, who once again missed their best player in the starting lineup. He was a late scratch in Dylan Harper. But kudos to Izzo and Michigan State. Typical Michigan State game and win. They have not had a lot of success at Madison Square Garden, but they really took it to them here in the second half, didn't they?
Yeah, you think a backdoor cover is in play, like a late shot from Rutgers? I'm seeing 69-58 right now, and that number jumped to 8.5, right? So a late shot from Rutgers could put like a number in play that if you got Michigan State at 5.5, it obviously could be very different. You got them at 8.5 where it closed, or whatever it might be. So that could come down to the wire. There's 2 minutes left. Like, that's a good amount of time to get some shots up from Rutgers if they're trying to push, I don't know, make a last-ditch effort, whatever it might be. And interestingly enough,
I agree.
Hopping in on BC probably would have been the play as they take a lead, at least as of now, 53-50. They were, when we talked about it, was 13 and a half points. That would have been a spot to jump in on BC at getting 13 when they were still at least tied or leading. So I don't know if that shows more about BC because I think they're terrible overall, or more about UNC and just not having a complete season.
So this is also going to be interesting here. We are seeing Kentucky now, I believe. What are you seeing in game there for them, Tom? 7.5, 8.5?
6.5, minus 125, though.
Yeah, so I do think that, again, I don't see Vanderbilt running away with anything in here, but I do think that Kentucky will be live to get back into this game here at some point, no?
Yeah, I mean, the number's already moving 5.5, so if you have them at 2.5, to close at 2.5, right? For Kentucky was 3, 2.5. It's like an 8 to 9 point swing. They really should. And again, the shooting should be there for them in the second half. And it shouldn't be as much from Vanderbilt. It's 6.5 minus 128. So I think that's fine. If it gets to 7 and you can get them at minus 110, it's obviously better for that.
Yep. Yeah. And they got the final 2 minutes there at the Garden with Rutgers and Michigan State. And Michigan State up by 11. And you got to wonder whether or not Rutgers, of course, has not been able to find any shots here in the second half whatsoever. It's been rough sledding for them. Without a doubt, and which is no excuse because they have Ace Bailey, who's another going to be a top draft pick in the NBA this year. You can't have an NBA caliber players and not be able to make shots in down the stretch, but that's exactly what is happening to them. So it's unfortunate for Rutgers, and now they're down 70-58. With about 1:55 to go. And don't look now, Kentucky now within 6. Boy, that was quick. Have they even scored a shot yet? Have they scored a point, Vandy? I don't think they've scored a bucket yet.
No, and again, the 7.5 or what was it at halftime?
14.
Halftime number. Yeah, but I'm saying the halftime number for
it was 9.5.
Yeah, that was a spot to take Kentucky because, like I said, Vandy has yet to score in the second half. With just hitting the 2-minute mark of game time played in the second. Vandy not getting it going. I guess, water always finds its level, and Kentucky was not going to shoot that poorly, and Vandy was not going to shoot that hot as we started the second half. For the NBA, the scoring continues for the Timberwolves, up to 42 points as we start the second quarter. And, if you're liking Denver, that number keeps growing at plus 164 the money line. I want to see where the scoring is coming from on Minnesota, because if it's not coming from Anthony Edwards, who else is putting up the points that's
coming from Gobert is what it looks like. It looks like, you got Dillingham doing a good job. The bench is basically outscoring them. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
But you got nobody else there. I mean, Jokic, 13. Michael Porter Jr. Has only got 3, but it's really Jamal Murray and Jokic carrying them. But the bench, and Gobert's got 9 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists already. What is that all about?
Gobert's going to have a triple-double.
Too.
Yeah, the minus 110 number against Jokic, no, absolutely not.
Yeah, no, I did not see that coming. As a matter of fact, I'd be willing to bet that is not going to continue here across the board. But again, very slow starting Denver Nuggets team. We know this, and it's all about the second half with them. So that's where I'm going to be looking to jump back in with them. All right, come back and join us. An update here from some of the college games when in-game live game day continues.
It's Championship Sunday. Can rookie sensation Jaden Daniels clip the Eagles' wings on his way to Super Bowl history? Then, 2 teams that know each other all too well face off in the AFC in the Bills and Chiefs. SportsGrid has you covered all day Sunday. Start at 7 a.m. with FST, followed by Pro Football Today. And stay with us for in-game live game day. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in as in-game live game day continues here on a loaded Saturday. It is championship weekend, of course. What does that mean? Well, it means we've got conference championships tomorrow in the NFL as Washington and Philadelphia get ready to go head-to-head with a opportunity and a chance, well, at a Super Bowl appearance there in New Orleans. And then, of course, Buffalo and Kansas City will get ready to do battle. A lot still to be determined here in the NFL, but great storylines around the horn. And we've got some brewing here right now, including a Rutgers comeback to stay within the number, Tom. Is that possible? They were just down by as many as 13 a minute ago, and now they've cut the lead to 7. Is that what craziness is going on here?
A final push from Rutgers at the Garden. I guess,
wow,
a home crowd for them. And Izzo, maybe not failing to win, but failing to cover at the Garden. I don't want to say the lights are too bright there for him, at least historically, but a good push from Rutgers. And, this is important. When Colby was on, we're talking, it's like, oh, the number's 5.5, then, he's ruled in, and it's this and that, it's changing. It was up to 8.5 at one point, which is where it is now at 8.5. And, getting Michigan State at 5.5 obviously looks fantastic compared to where the game could end with, 31 seconds left. So in-game betting is obviously fantastic for you to maybe have a position pregame, or you're waiting for the best number in-game, whatever it might be. Because if you were getting Rutgers at, 11.5, 12 points, wherever it was when they were down, that's looking pretty good now. And if you have Michigan State at 5.5, you obviously can get both of those to come through. Iowa State is keeping things close. They're trading buckets with Arizona State. Iowa State was up by 1 at a certain point. It's 54-53 in favor of Arizona State. And then, as we were talking about, Kentucky has come firing back in the second half. They're down 44-39 in that one. And, man, BC continuing to lead UNC as 20-point underdogs. They're still getting 5.5 points, but they were up 62-59.
That's just crazy, Tom. I mean, that is in North Carolina, no less. I mean, that is just unheard of here. Also, we had mentioned it, maybe a sleepy spot for Arizona, only 33-31 right now. Ooh. Colorado visiting. Colorado still looking for their first conference win. They are giving Arizona a whole lot to deal with here right now. Arizona, maybe this is another one of those. Could be a good wake-up call here. Take a look at Arizona in the second half, because they're kind of sleepwalking And they, too, are what, a 16.5, 17.5 point favorite, something in that ballpark? So not going well right now for Arizona.
Yeah, I saw 14.5 and 150.5 total for that game, which obviously is regardless of the total. The spread itself is not in a good spot if you are backing Arizona or whatever it might be. Rutgers has cut this to 6 with 23 seconds left, which I think is by far the most interesting spot. Granted, we've seen Michigan State, they just knocked down a few free throws on that. But, man, Rutgers, what a push in the second, not just the second half, the last 4 or 5 minutes of the second half, knocking down some threes, knocking down some layups. Like you said, Ace Bailey coming away with one. Bring this within the number.
Yep. Yeah. Where has that been, though, all game there, Ace Bailey? That's what I want to know here. Minnesota holding on the Timberwolves in the NBA right now, 47-42 in that game there, as it looks like we're waiting for the starters to get back out on the court there. But Minnesota now a 1.5 point favorite, 237.5 is that total. Should we begin to look towards an under in this spot here? Because they're going to have to slow it down, and some of these shots that they've been chucking up are just not very sustainable shots here at some point. Maybe a 240 number might be a good time to look the other way.
Yeah. It was 241. It flashed there for a second at the end of the first quarter. I'm seeing 238.5. If we can get that 240 number, that would be ideal. Now it's dropping to 236. So I guess it is trending that way, but the 240, if we see some scoring once the starters get back in there, that would be the ideal spot.
Yeah, I agree. 78-71 now, 22 seconds, as whether or not Rutgers is going to get this cover is going to come all down to, yep, you guessed it. It's going to come down to free throws and whether or not they can make any here. As Rutgers, with about 21 seconds left, they are down 8. And depending on when you got in there, this has been anywhere between 7, 7.5, and 8 points. You could have gotten Rutgers here at some point during the show. So you need Rutgers to figure out something here, maybe get a couple of free throws going, give themselves an opportunity to stay within this because, boy, oh boy, what a unbelievable cover that would have been if they were able to do it. But they're chucking up threes left and right like they know what's going on. And unfortunately, that looks like that's all she wrote. That's going to be an 8 point. You got to be kidding me. If that finishes 8, Tom, oh my goodness.
79-71 right now. Oof, that is a.
Wow.
You got 5.5 with Michigan State early, right as I said, he was warming up. Dylan Harper's warming up. You are sitting pretty right now. If you waited and you took Rutgers and you got him at 8.5, I'm seeing 9 right now. Michigan State just pushed to 80-71. This game is what
they're shooting free throws.
Yep,
they're shooting free throws. That's correct. That's exactly what it is all about. So they are up 9 here with only about 10 seconds left to go, but I would imagine that is all she wrote there. Iowa State has made a big comeback. They are up 57-56. 5.5 minutes to go in that game there. And I don't know if we have a update. It looks like a 23-11 Florida over Georgia early in Gainesville. 11 minutes to go as Florida has come out and just kind of shock and awe over Georgia, who's trying to figure out exactly what is going on right now. Big start to the game for the Florida Gators. In-game number, by the way, 18.5 right now. 157.5 is the in-game total. We'll look to wrap it up as in-game live game day continues. One more segment here on the grid.
It's Championship Sunday, Can rookie sensation Jaden Daniels clip the Eagles' wings on his way to Super Bowl history? Then, two teams that know each other all too well face off in the AFC in the Bills and Chiefs. SportsGrid has you covered all day Sunday. Start at 7 a.m. with FST, followed by Pro Football Today. And stay with us for in-game live game day. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here as we look to wrap up this edition together. However, don't go anywhere. More in-game live is coming up here at the top of the hour as we're just getting started here with 150 college basketball games set, a full slate of NBA action, including a Minnesota 56-46 lead now in the first half, and they're looking to add more here as whatever's going on here, Tom, in Minnesota, Denver has stopped scoring for some reason.
Stopping scoring, credit to Minnesota, getting it done in multiple ways. We're talking about Rudy Gobert having a big game, which is not something that we anticipated overall, but the bench scoring as of now, at least, is the difference for Minnesota. They're getting out to an early lead and continuing piling that up. And like I said, Jokic had 13 points in the first quarter, and we have 3 minutes and 33 seconds left in the second, and he's still stuck at 13 points. So he has not got anything going in the second quarter. Obviously, if you are backing the Nuggets and or you just are going to hop in on the Nuggets, potentially you'd expect the scoring to come from Jokic. It is important to know, right as we were going to break, right as we went to break, what happened in Rutgers, Michigan State, as there was a late three from Rutgers, and they ended up losing that game by just 7 points. So it puts everything in flux on the 6.5 to 7.5, 8.5, whatever it might have been that you got Rutgers at. They ended up covering that 7.5 or 8.5 number.
Which is kind of crazy, right? When you think about it, my goodness. Unreal that end with no Dylan Harper. What a crazy end to what was happening there. So we did, it should mention, we did look to back Arizona here in the second half. They're up 2 against Colorado as they closed at 14.5, 15-point favorite at home. Did feel like a possible sleepy spot for Arizona, but I do think that they will begin to hit some of these shots from the outside and get it done there. Also, just randomness here, USC Upstate on upset alert over Longwood. But I would be very careful here. Longwood down 2 at the break. Might want to look to jump in on them in the second half. South Carolina Upstate, just not a very good team, but had a whole lot of buckets drop that probably should not have dropped for them. So a couple of great opportunities on the card here tonight. And Tom, what is your best NBA play here tonight? What's the game you like the most here on the card?
The more that I think about it, and, when we were talking with Mark Zinno when he was on, Garland rebounds. It's only 2.5. And, again, a little bit of redemption. I think that plays into what I would be expecting. And they're just a good team overall. And, again, Evan Mobley is still listed as questionable. Whether or not he plays, yet to be seen. That game tips off at 7:40. We won't officially have that news until the latest at 7:10 once they have starting lineups. But, man, Garland just doing a little bit more. And this is a good Rockets team. It's not like this is some blowout where he may not have to be on the court. 2.5 rebounds from Garland. It's sitting at -110. Super clean line.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. I do think Cleveland bounces back in this spot. I think they're able to get it done. I also took a team total over with Sacramento here tonight against New York. Sacramento offensively has just been flying, and I think it was 113.5 or 114.5. I think both the Knicks and Sacramento will have some offensive success. I hate the Knicks' depth. I do think that Sacramento will be able to get some points and get some scoring done in this game. So I do think 120 is going to win this game. Question is, does New York get it to Sacramento? Either way, I like Sacramento's points up and over in this one. And don't forget, guys, you got more in-game live coming straight up here on a loaded slate in the NBA. 76ers, Bulls. You got Joe Madden, Scotty Wetzel coming up. You got a whole, including a late night game where one of the better games, I think, tonight with the Clippers and the Milwaukee Bucks, East meets West here. I think this is going to be a whole lot of fun and a great way to end the night, all leading into a championship Sunday, which will feature the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills, the Eagles, and the Washington Commanders. There is a whole lot of reasons to hang out with us all weekend long here on the Sports Grid Network. But I'll tell you right now, if college basketball is your thing, buckle up. We got upset alerts in North Carolina right now that could very well take center stage. We also got something brewing in Arizona. Either way, Tom Vecchio and I will be back next Saturday for you here in Game Live. Game Day rolls on the grid. Enjoy.
Do we have a fantasy star on our hands here, George? Here is the question with Jaden Daniels of the Washington Commanders. A lot of folks went into the fantasy season saying, hey, look, maybe this isn't Anthony Richardson, but it could be the next best thing. I'm here to tell you, I don't know. I'm sort of feeling like Daniels could be better than Anthony Richardson.
I don't know if I'm going to go there yet, all right? But I think he's in the conversation, yeah. What did we hear at draft time? A lot of people wanted a quarterback who could move. Right, you don't want the guy who's going to take 5-7 steps and throw the football anymore, because you want that additional rushing yards. You get 50, 60 yards, that's a touchdown. Right, that's why Josh Allen is so valuable. Lamar Jackson is so valuable. Right, you go up and down. Jalen Hurts. You go up and down here. I think Daniels is going to be a good quarterback. I think Washington got their guy, and he can throw the football too. We know McLaurin's a really good wide receiver. It may not be much else there. We'll see what McCaffrey can be. Luke McCaffrey can be there in time. But I do have hope for him. I think at season's end he's going to be a quarterback one. It may be a low end quarterback one, but a quarterback one nonetheless.
Yeah, I was really impressed watching him in that game. All right, now Anthony Richardson, look, he's going to have a big year. He's going to have a big fantasy year. There's no question about it. I don't know about the long-term viability here. And look, give him credit. He hung in there with the Houston Texans. My fear for him, George, is that when you go back and you watch film, if you protect the deep ball against Richardson, he could hurt you with his legs. And that may be where all of his fantasy value is coming from. I cannot see him throwing 2 70-yard bombs like he did again.
That should come in time, right? Practice time. I think he will get better here. I think Richardson's going to be fine. Does need to learn how to how to avoid hits. All right. Once again, that hit. Remember that hit from Tua last night? He initiated it. Slide. The rules are made for you not to get hit. Take advantage of them.
And welcome in. It's in-game live game day on a Saturday afternoon. Scott Wetzel, Joe Van for the next 4 glorious hours right here on SportsGrid TV, SportsGrid Radio as well, till 8 p.m. Eastern Time, covering betting in the world of sports. Big slate of college basketball, huge slate of NHL games, some NBA games as well. We'll take a peek at the conference championship games for tomorrow also. So a busy 4 hours. Jeff Dawson will join us, East Coast Sports Investors, in a couple of hours. And then we got our good buddy Cam Stewart who'll join us before we close up shop here. So guests, some picks, and hopefully making a couple shekels, Joe, along the way. How you doing this afternoon?
I am doing pretty good, Scott. I'm excited for today's slate. We've got some great games. And as you talked about, all of these college basketball games kicking off, I have to throw something at you right away before we go any further. You're looking at Georgia and Florida. There's already a 22.5-point spread between these teams. Georgia coming in, I thought they could hang tight. It was 11.5 originally, that spread for Florida. I'm coming right in on Georgia, plus the 23.5 now it moves to, as Florida takes a 38-19 lead. But we've got so much to go over today, Scott. I'm super excited. Lots of opportunities on the hardwood and the ice to make some money. And I'm sure at some point I'm going to hear what you're liking in tomorrow's divisional matchups as well.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will. So with that, we got some SGPs, and I wanted to do it, during the show because we got kind of like an open block with some of the hockey games and NBA games later on, and a couple starting in just a couple of moments. So let's hop right to it. How about a little SGP time? All right, I'm going to give you, Joe, 2 for the price of 1, 1 to win, and 1 just to have some fun, and who knows. It's going to be the same game. They dropped the first puck here in about 5 minutes. Edmonton at home against Buffalo. I think Edmonton wins. We'll go with the first one. It's going to pay 5 to 1. Edmonton in regulation, minus 175. Under 6.5, Buffalo and Edmonton. Edmonton 7-1 under last 8 home games, believe it or not. So I think they're going to control play. No Connor McDavid once again in this contest. So let's look to some of the other guys. How about Leon Draisaitl? 2 shots on goal or more. He gets that in 1 period, minus 520, but it's going to bump our parlay up. Draisaitl to get at least 1 point, which would be a miracle if he didn't do that. That's minus 520 again. Just bump the parlay up. And then Zach Hyman to get 1 point, minus 215. All these guys being counted on just a little bit more without McDavid. So add it all up, and you're getting a minus 2-1 favorite into a 5-1 parlay. Now we're going to go aside of that and use the same game for a second one. This is going to pay 20-1, which is why we're just going to have some fun with this one. Edmonton minus 1.5 goals. Edmonton over half of first period goals, which means they scored a first period, obviously. Draisaitl to get a goal and an assist. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins to score a goal, and then Tage Thompson for Buffalo to get 1 point. Add it all up, and it's 20-1. So it's either Edmonton's going to win 3-1 or they're going to win 7-3. Either way, hopefully we capitalize, Joe.
Okay, so if I told you there's one leg I'm kind of nervous about for you, which leg do you think it would be, Scott?
In which parlay? The first one or the second one? Or both?
First and second. You've got the same leg in both parlays.
Right. Draisaitl getting a point?
No, actually, sorry. You've only got in the first, but you have one correlating in the second. So you have the puck line and the money line for the Oilers in both of one in each parlay. I'm nervous for the Edmonton Oilers today with their schedule. I know it's the Buffalo Sabres, but it's just absolutely crazy how hot they've been rolling. What do you think? Is there any way you could see an upset? Because I love all of your other legs.
Yeah, no, I think Buffalo or Edmonton's 12-2. Their last 14 at home. Kind of rallying around the cause without McDavid. It's Buffalo; they stink, right? So I like betting Buffalo against Toronto because that's their neighbor. But Buffalo, Edmonton, well, I'll take my chances on that one.
This was the only thing I was worried about. When we looked at the Edmonton Oilers and we looked at their schedule who they have played as of late. So since January 13th, they played twice versus Vancouver. We know that's where Connor McDavid was suspended. Tyler Myers for Vancouver as well. So home and road there. They also played the Capitals. They played the Avs. They played the Wilds. They played the Kings. This is a classic Edmonton let me down spot. So I stayed off Edmonton for a side, but I don't blame you. They're the right team, Scott. They should be able to walk away with the win. I love that you're backing Leon Draisaitl. He's been an absolute moneymaker without Connor McDavid on the ice. So I think all of your legs have every ability to hit. It's the only nervousness about Edmonton, which everyone's probably going, Joe, Buffalo's not beating Edmonton, which I can hear. Like, I can hear it loud and clear from here, but that was my only concern with Oilers today. My same game parlay, the Devils versus the Montreal Canadiens. We know how hot Montreal has been rolling as of late. They're coming off that loss to the Red Wings, and we have the Devils rolling in here for their game with Jake Allen in net. So Jake Allen, their backup goaltender, as Jacob Markstrom's out with that knee injury. He will face his former team here in the Montreal Canadiens. It's asking a lot for Jake Allen because I do think Montreal has been so incredibly hot since coming out of the Christmas break, and I'm expecting them to get back in the winning column today. But if they're to get back in the winning column, this has to be a higher scoring game for the Montreal Canadiens. I looked here at 5 legs or 4 legs in this one. I looked at 3 players and the first period. So the first period over 1.5 goals is the first leg of my parlay. That's coming in at -126. I'm then going to turn to the Devils, Jasper Bratt. He was able to get those goals in the last game versus Montreal. I'll take him for a point tonight. It's juicy. Don't take it outside at -186. Just a parlay piece to really boost up this parlay. Nick Suzuki for 1+ points at -162 and Cole Caulfield for 1+ points at -154. Again, juicy 3 legs for these player points, but if you parlay them together with the first period over 1.5, it's coming in at +646, Scott.
All right, not bad. I will say it's a little weird with that game. There's something quirky about that game. I'll tell you here in a second. But let me throw, before we get to that, let me throw my 2-game $1 round robin parlay, overtime parlay. Joe, we did this in college football. We actually hit it once, maybe twice. Almost hit it like a monster one. So what do is we just take 5 games and we bet them on FanDuel or anywhere else to have those games go to overtime. And we put them in a round robin. So you don't need all 5. All you need is 2. If they all came in, your $10 risk will pay almost $1,500. Now, that's not going to happen. But if you get 2, the average payout is $150. You get 3, you just multiply that by 3, and you're going to win almost $500 depending on which one hits. So with that said, we're going to use a hockey one just to kind of give us a little bit of a boost. Starting in about when is actually it's just underway, but that's okay. These overtime bets do remain there. So you can still bet this, even if they did just drop the first puck here. Pittsburgh and Seattle, we're going to go overtime +3-1. Then we're going to throw in Ole Miss, Missouri. They tip off at 6 o'clock, 13-1. West Virginia, Kansas State tips off at 6, 14-1. Houston, Kansas, I think they tip off either 6 or 6:30 at 14-1. And then Baylor, Utah, which tips off right around that same 6 o'clock, 6:30 time slot at 13-1. So, again, you got 10 different combinations. You put $1 on them. It costs you $10. And if you hit even 2, then that pays off one of your 10 parlays. So you win about $150. So, and if you hit 3, like I said, then you're going to go big time. So, back to you. So Pittsburgh, Seattle, Ole Miss, the West Virginia game, Houston game against Kansas, and then Baylor, Utah. Here's the quirky thing with your Devil game. That line shot up. It was 5.5, right? Devils are 19-4 under their last 23 games, Joe. And the over-under was 5.5. Then it went to 6. And then I saw it at 6.5 on FanDuel as it is right now. Little weird. We'll get you those numbers. She thinks it's so much when we come back to the live.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Hi, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the Red. Scott and Joe just getting underway. We got our SGPs out there. We got a little overtime parlay, and we threw it to break there, Joe, with your SGP with the Devils. Yeah, kind of weird. I get it. The backup goaltender is in there. I don't know if the backup's going to be in there for Montreal as well. I forgot about the Jake Allen with Montreal thing, which makes me think that it's going to even be lower scoring, you know, as he plays well, theoretically, right? But the over-under is at 6.5. Haven't seen too many 6.5s in Devil games. Like I said, 19-4 under their last 23 games, although I think the last one did go over, so if that means anything. But just a little strange to see a 6.5 in front of the Devils.
Yeah, it really is, but I think it is because they believe Jake Allen isn't as strong as Jacob Markstrom. Jacob Markstrom has been on that complete heater, but you look at Jake Allen versus his former team, and you know these goaltenders really do show up in situations like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how the defense here of the Devils can give that to support to Jake Allen and how Jake Allen can come out in this game, because Montreal has been incredibly hot. I know they're coming off that loss, but you look at them coming out of the break since Christmas, and they have been so strong out there. They're 7-2-1 in their last 10 games, sitting 6th in the Atlantic now, 13-8-3 at home. So I think Montreal, with Kyle Caulfield, Patrick Laine, and Nick Suzuki, have every ability to get the win out there. They're going to be looking for payback after the Devils beat them in November 5-3. So I think it's a really interesting matchup in this one. Scott, I'm just hoping all of those players can get on the board, including a Jasper Bratt out there for me for that same game parlay from the Devils.
Which, I'll ask you a question I asked Sherapan this week. Out of the three kind of dead teams that are actually playing really well, which one do you think will stand the test of time? You talked Montreal, right? The Canadians, believe it or not, are 12-4 their last 16 games. I mean, that's pretty good. That's not just like 3 out of 4. Okay, you know, nice little winning streak. So they're playing really well. Detroit is playing really well. And then Columbus, believe it or not, is 7-2-1 their last 10, and I think it's 10-4 their last 14 at home. These teams are still struggling a little bit standings wise because they're so far behind. Although Columbus is actually in fourth place now. But which one of those three do you think, or none? Maybe the answer is none. Will actually maybe make the playoffs.
It's really interesting because you look at the Columbus Blue Jackets here, and right now, Monahan's still out of this lineup. He's been out of the lineup since the first week in January. So adding him back in, Adam Fantilli's been playing so strong. The Columbus Blue Jackets have every ability, but I think you got a stronger way of looking at either Montreal or the Detroit Red Wings. I like what the Detroit Red Wings bring to the table. They can lock down a little bit more defensively there. Offensively, they have been firing Dylan Larkin so strong for them. So I think the Red Wings over the Columbus Blue Jackets, but ultimately it is the Montreal Canadiens. Looking at how hot this team has been with Patrick Laine in this lineup, they really have started playing at a different level out there. They're able to lock down in front of Sam Montague. They need to give him a little bit more support. Sam Montague has the ability to turn it on. We need him to start firing on all cylinders out there between the pipes, because if he can, Montreal can make it deep. I really do believe they're sitting right now 24-20. So 24 wins, 20 losses, 4 overtime losses, 52 points. So sitting down there in the Atlantic, but I think they have every ability to keep climbing, Scott.
Yeah. All right. What do you think of that trade last night? Boy, is Carolina, on the surface, it's kind of like, whoa. But then you read into it a little bit. Rantanen, I guess, is going to be an unrestricted free agent. Colorado figured out they couldn't sign him. Now, they could still hold on to him and just make a run for the Stanley Cup. But they forewent that and then traded him to Carolina and actually got pretty good. We were talking about this. They picked up some good players for a guy that's going to be an unrestricted free agent. I don't know if Carolina has any deals on the side with Rantanen that they know his price. And they told him, okay, if we're willing to meet that price, will you re-sign with us? And maybe he said yes. But Rantanen goes from Colorado to Carolina. They also get Taylor Hall, remember the former number 1 overall pick, started with the Devils, went with Arizona, right? Was on the Bruins, Chicago, and now Carolina. Never really quite lived up to that number 1 hype that he had, but, still a productive player. Does this make Carolina better or worse, given up Martin Necas? And where do you think this sits with Carolina?
Way better. It makes them day and night better here for the Carolina Hurricanes. I think this team now has every ability not only to come out here and take the Metro. They're going to really need to have to step up with the Washington Capitals sitting first in the Metro right now. But I think they can take the Metro. I also think that they can come out and fight all the way for the Stanley Cup. You interject Rantanen into this lineup. He's definitely top 10 forward out there, probably top 15 a skater. He will automatically put their offense at a different level. I really do think you're going to see this team scoring at a higher level. They have the defensive elements. You add them to that line with Sebastian Aho and Svechnikov, and I do think they are going to be lights out there on the ice. So they are such a strong favorite now, in my opinion, to take the Stanley Cup. And Scott, that's one thing I haven't looked at with that move, where they're sitting, and I just put it up on FanDuel. Plus 600, the leading favorite here to take the Stanley Cup in the Carolina Hurricanes, adding Mikko Rantanen. I think they got the best of this deal out there for sure. Now, they also got, like you were saying, Taylor Hall, which we knew Taylor Hall was on the move from Chicago. So good to see him over here. I do think he adds that depth that they're going to be needing. So I don't think Colorado's done. I think right now the Carolina Hurricanes are in a prime spot to take the Stanley Cup, to take the Metro. I love what they've done. But, yeah, you've got a Colorado Avalanche that rumors are Sidney Crosby is who their target is, and that's why Rantanen had to go.
Wow. Could you imagine them getting Sid the Kid? You think Pittsburgh would ever trade him? No way, right?
But I do think Rantanen would go either.
Yeah.
It is.
Right, but that would be like so weird to see him in a different uniform. I mean, he's been the face of that franchise for so long. I guess unless he just went to the management and just said, get me out of here, you owe that to me. We're not going anywhere. We're not going to win. And they just dismantled the whole darn thing. And if you can get a whole lot for him,
he deserves to win before his career is done. Scott, he deserves it. Like, he deserves to go to a team like Colorado. You imagine, like, if Sid retires without a win, like, in the next couple years, I want to see him over here. Send him to Colorado.
It'll be something. Continue spreading red.
It's Championship Sunday. Can rookie sensation Jaden Daniels clip the Eagles' wings on his way to Super Bowl history? Then, two teams that know each other all too well face off in the AFC in the Bills and Chiefs. SportsGrid has you covered all day Sunday. Start at 7 a.m. with FST, followed by Pro Football Today. And stay with us for in-game live game day. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York team has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Joe, hour number one of our 4-hour extravaganza today. Talking a little pucks here. We got the one game that's already in the books. Bruins beat Colorado. Oh, by the way, 3-1. Pittsburgh, Seattle, still no score. Buffalo and Edmonton, still no score. Joe, just to kind of finish up on our talking the trade there. So Carolina now is the odds-on favorite. And, Dave and I just looked at this the other day. I don't remember if they were the odds-on favorite. I do remember saying that how there are like so many teams in the NHL, and you get great odds on all these teams. Unlike with baseball, we're kind of comparing it to the Dodgers situation. So, but right now, anyway, Carolina's 6-1. Do you remember what they were yesterday or earlier? Maybe last week, somewhere along the line.
You know what? I don't, but I remember them being third or fourth in the favorite list. I do believe the Edmonton Oilers, the Florida Panthers, and the Dallas Stars were sitting above them, not far behind by the New Jersey Devils. So I think the Carolina Hurricanes were somewhere between or above the Stars and the Devils, but behind the Oilers and the Panthers.
You know what they're offering? Maybe they're just not giving us the favorites, but they're offering President Cup winner, which in hockey you almost don't want to get, right? Because they never win the Stanley Cup, it seems like. But the odds
I don't want it.
Yeah, right. I mean, the odds are 28-1 for the lowest team, and that's Edmonton. Let me go to the standings because that can't be, because otherwise you could take 28 teams, and as long as one of your 28 wins, because it's 28 or higher, that's the lowest odds. So what am I missing here? That they're giving us 28-1 or higher to have the team with the most points in the NHL. Right now, it's Washington at 71. They have Washington listed. They're 33-1.
Interesting.
Right? What am I missing here?
Yeah.
There's got to be a team that's not listed. Winnipeg, Winnipeg's there at 60 to win the Stanley Cup and the President's Trophy. Oh, okay. I know. There had to have been something, because if they were listing all the teams and the lowest one is 28-1, again, you can have every single team and you're guaranteed at least a 20. Okay, I missed that. To win the President's Cup.
Scott, I was ready to put $100 on each team right now. I was going to go, let's go. Right? We won't bet the Buffalo Sabres. Like, we know the teams we won't bet. We'll bet, the top 10 teams and $100 on each. Would have been a great payday come the end of the season.
Fudge! That would that would have been great. That would have really they would have screwed that up. So all right, let's run down a couple of games here. Buffalo Edmonton, right? We have no score. Edmonton, you know how I feel. I got them in my SGP. 12-2 their last 14 at home. 7-1 under. 20-7 overall their last 27 games. Buffalo just the opposite. 7-20 their last 27 games, including 4-10 on the road. But you seem to think Buffalo might surprise them today.
I'm just concerned with the Edmonton Oilers schedule, and that is what it comes down to for me. You look at Edmonton, they are clearly the better team. I think they score first in this one, Scott, and I think we will have that live betting opportunity. At +1.5 right now for the Buffalo Sabres, it's -146 going into the game. It was still like -130. Not a range I really want to back the Sabres plus the 1.5, but if we do see Edmonton go up first, we know how strong they are at doing so. Leon Draisaitl should probably get that goal. I want to come back in on the Buffalo Sabres plus 1.5, as I do think they have every opportunity of keeping it tight in this one just because of that schedule for Edmonton. Like I said, since January 13th, they've had 2 games versus the Vancouver Canucks. They've also faced the Capitals at home, the Avs and the Wild on the road, and the LA Kings at home. So they've played some really tough opponents. Not really a look ahead. They got the Seattle Kraken, who are sitting in the Pacific, ahead of them on Monday, then the Red Wings on Thursday. So they're not going to look past the game here with the Sabres, but I think it could be one where they're playing maybe down a notch in this game, Scott.
All right, I understand that. You get the backup goaltender in there for Buffalo, Reimer. Skinner, the number 1 guy, is in there for Edmonton. But I do like the under, and you kind of survive that initial purge, the first 5-10 minutes of the game, and you got no score. They're still giving you 5.5. I tell you, 7-1 under Edmonton, last 8 at home for whatever reason, where you think they would be like putting 5-6 goals on the board. But the fact.
Yeah, Edmonton, we're looking at it right now. Edmonton has 7 shots on goal. They've held the Buffalo Sabres to 0 shots on goal in this one. So it's going to be really interesting to see where they come out in this. So that is our game right now. It's under 8 minutes left in that first period. Still 0-0 between the Edmonton Oilers and the Buffalo Sabres. The other game underway right now is the Pittsburgh Penguins. They're taking on the Seattle Kraken. Now, so many talks about Sidney Crosby. The rumors are out. We'll be back after the break to talk about this one, so don't go anywhere. Over here on the grid.
It's Championship Sunday. Can rookie sensation Jaden Daniels clip the Eagles' wings on his way to Super Bowl history? Then, 2 teams that know each other all too well face off in the AFC in the Bills and Chiefs. SportsGrid has you covered all day Sunday. Start at 7 a.m. with FST, followed by Pro Football Today. And stay with us for in-game live game day. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Joe for another 3.5 hours, 1/2 hour in the books. Pittsburgh and Seattle last left you guys and Joe, and they thought, well, they just froze it, so let's assume that it's still no score. But we ran down all the numbers: 3-9 last 12 for Pittsburgh, 3-23. Weird stat for Pittsburgh: last 23 road games on a Saturday.
Yeah, I can't believe how
Saturday night, including team. Good.
Yeah, they've been so strong on the Saturday, Scott. It's crazy. And you look at this lineup, and I forgot to check if Jared McCann is in the lineup here for Seattle, but you look at the Seattle team, they've got so many players listed as day today. If they'll be out on the ice is such a question mark. Chandler Stevenson, a defensive player, Evans, and then Jared McCann. So looking at the Pittsburgh Penguins, even though they've had those struggles out there on the road, I do think they have the ability to get the win. Now, my problem here is I've got 5 minutes for these goals to come on the board. Actually, check that. 4 minutes for 2 goals. I took the over 1.5 in the first period, expecting those goals to come, Scott. 4 minutes, no score. Are you kidding me?
That's right. You know what? I forgot about that with one of my SGPs as well. I have Edmonton with one of them to score a goal in the first period. So I got 5.5 minutes with that one also. I got a little better shot because I only need 1. You need 2, but where's all the scoring on a Saturday? I thought no one played defense on Saturdays. So far, that's all we're getting. 3-1 final, Boston, Colorado earlier today, and then we got no goals in 2 games, basically through both first periods. So got to keep our fingers crossed. Yeah, I was going to say, oddly enough, the over-under is still 5.5 with Edmonton, still heavily juiced, and still 4.5 with Seattle and Pittsburgh. And that was 5.5 to start the game. So
I like the 4.5 though with the Penguins and the Kraken, right? Because one of these teams has to open up the scoring. You look at the goaltending there; it's not that great. So I'm going to check if Jared McCann is on the ice. Did you hear any updates if he'd be on the ice? If Evans and Chandler Stevenson were on the ice? I totally forgot to double check that before we start off the show. Yeah. But with those playmakers on the ice for the Seattle Kraken, they should be able to give us a couple goals. And if they're not on the ice, maybe we look at the Penguins team total, because I do trust in this team to be able to put up some goals in this. So just trying to pull up the team total here for the Pittsburgh Penguins live right now, 2.5, Scott. I have to hit it to the over. Let's take Seattle right out of the equation. Over 2.5 goals for the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's plus 130, Scott. They can get 3 goals in this game.
You would think, although they just had a power play that got killed off, so 0 for 1 at least on the power play. So maybe wait till the end of the first period and see, maybe get some even better numbers with that stuff. Yeah. Baskets, NBA, we'll start there. We got 1 game going on. We got a couple that'll start in about an hour or so. But the 1 game that's going on, Minnesota at home against Denver. And surprisingly enough, here's another team that's just awful on Saturdays. You parlay them with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Minnesota, 4-17 also against the spread at home their last 21 home games. I mean, that is so you would think Minnesota would be good and they win, but they don't cover. So tonight, they are, though, leading by 14, 89-75 over Denver. 6 minutes left to go, third quarter. High, obviously scoring game. Over under is 250.5, and you get the Nuggets plus 9.5, Joe.
I can't believe how high this total's gone, Scott, but probably not high enough. In this matchup, I was looking at Russell Westbrook for his points going into this one. I took him over 18.5 points. So right now he has 9 points on the board. I was just trying to get some updated numbers here for him. I'm not seeing him at 20 plus points or 25 plus points. I'm not sure. They're not giving me many other options here for, oh, there it is. I just had to scroll down. They're really doing an odd thing over on FanDuel. If you guys run into this, they are putting players to score 10 plus and 20 plus and 25 plus. You got to go all the way down. So I just forgot that for players' points. Then they'll be listed over there. So when you look at Russell Westbrook, that number has moved to only 11.5. Why is it only 11.5? He's already got 9.
Yeah, that is weird. That is weird, right? I noticed that also. Like, they list all those other ones, 10 points, 15, like you said. Then they just list real small, like, player points, and that's where you get everyone's real numbers. You would think that would be on top. That would be the first thing that they would show you, rather than have to scroll all the way down through all the other goofy things that they give you. Yeah.
It used to be, Scott, I swear, it used to be to find it at the top, and then you could go to the alt numbers down below, because that's what I'd want to look at second. So I'm surprised that they have it at the bottom. But if you just want to take someone for 20 plus points, who do you think gets there? Actually, not really value on anyone for 20 plus points right now. Anthony Edwards is at 17, but of course his number is locked, so I'm sure we'd have to lay a lot of juice there. Anthony Edwards, though, for 25 plus is minus 140. Can he hit 30 today? 30 is plus 330.
Really?
Yeah.
Let me see. Let me go to that and see. Because I tell you what, I mean, you got the whole fourth quarter, and you got nearly 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes of the third. It is a 17-point game, but it's the NBA. He's going to play, a lot of this contest. So,
lines are moving fast. It just dropped to plus 165. The number was dropping as you were speaking.
Yeah,
Jokic for 30 plus points today, plus 550.
Yeah.
He's got 15. He's halfway there.
He is, and he clearly, and they're trailing by 17. So if he's going to play, he's got to realize, okay, time to pick up the scoring there. What is 25 points? 25 for the Jokers plus 170. I would do a little of both. They did put a little sprinkle on. In fact, what is the 20? Just out of curiosity. Oh, they don't even offer him a 20. He's good for 10 more points in a game that they're trailing by 17. I would think, and they're giving that plus 180, and then the 650. It's now 650 for 30 points.
I'm in, Scott.
I think it's the 30.
I'm betting both of those. I think it's a great way to go. He's got to, right? Like, especially with them trailing here. What do you think of this spread, though? Like, do you think the Denver Nuggets can get back into it? I do. Plus 11.5. I think it's a solid way to go.
Yeah. Old days, they would give you 15, 16, but they realize now it's like everyone bets the underdogs. So down 17, they're only giving you 11.5. I still think, though, they make a game of this. They make some kind of run where you're going to be able to hedge, on that number. I don't think they're just going to roll over. So it's the NBA. Let's see what it's locked now for some reason. They don't usually lock it too often for an NBA game. Hockey, yes, because of penalties and goals, and football for scores and stuff. And they don't generally get them locked for basketball, but maybe something goofy's going on.
I've got some good news for you. I want to tell you one thing. Denver Nuggets first have won and covered the spread as their last 8 as a favorite, so they were the 4.5-point favorite coming into this, 97-80. But Scott, you needed a goal in the first period. You got 2 in your game. That's what I needed. What's the deal there?
Wow, how about that? Back-to-back goals. 16 seconds apart. I saw Buffalo had scored, and I thought, okay, that doesn't help me out too much. I need Edmonton now. And then Edmonton scores 16 seconds later. How about that? So let me go to my little SGP here. I always highlight it, and then I unhighlight the ones that are winners. So which one was that? That was the 20-1 one. Edmonton over half a goal first period, minus 260. All right. Let's see how about some points here. Who got the points? You know what? Son of a gun. Now, I don't bet goal scores too often, Joe. Every once in a while, right? So today I was going to. And today I was going to play Jeff Skinner because McDavid is still out. He's a center. So I'm thinking he's going to get a little bit more ice time as, just because who else is going to be there? Right? An extra 2-3 minutes, 2-3 shifts, right? So I want to play Skinner in a goal and that goofy, 20-1 prop, and they didn't list him. And he scores a goal for Edmonton.
Always so frustrating.
How did they know? Unbelievable.
Saturday, January 25th is a huge day at Gulfstream Park. It is Pegasus Cup Day. We're going to have a preview show. First Bet presents the DRF handicapping show for Pegasus World Cup. Alexa, tell us more.
Yep, Friday, January 24th. Make sure to tune in on SportsGrid TV from 2 to 3 p.m. to see the show. If you miss it then, don't worry. It airs again on Saturday at 11 a.m. We're going to talk about all the major contenders in the Pegasus Cup.
Special guests Bailey Armour, Samantha Perry, and Randy Moss will join us. Don't miss it.
He did nothing for 5 weeks, so he's becoming his brother. So I don't want to hear about how great T.J. Watt is with his 0 playoff wins. And he's the first guy to admit it. He comes right out and says, I've never won a playoff game. I don't matter. All right, at least we all know who the best player on the team is. It's George Pickens. If you don't believe that, well, then screw you, too.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
We'll see if they get McCain back. Kelly Oubre, Yabusele's been good. Caleb Martin's a defensive specialist. Andre Drummond can still give you, almost a double-double at any point. I can't go south on this team. And now you're giving it to me at 2-1 to make the playoffs? To be in the Final 8? Folks, give me the Philadelphia 76ers to make the playoffs at plus 210.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
We all know MVPs don't win the Super Bowl. It's not about MVPs, man. The only MVP, fine. Win the MVP in the Super Bowl. Nobody cares about the MVP in the regular season besides people that bet on it, the actual player themselves, and their agent that's getting a cut of the bonus money. Other than that, who cares? What do you care who wins the MVP? Like I said, unless you bet on it. Right? If you bet on it, fine. Then I guess you care.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the grid. Hour number 1, Scott and Joe until 8 p.m. Eastern time. Taking a peek, little NBA, little NHL. We got some plays in, little college basketball. Not happy with this, but North Carolina, Boston College is in overtime just because we have an overtime parlay, and we didn't include them. That game had already started. So I'd like to go into our games with no overtimes in the previous games. This way the overtimes are due. So we do have a pretty good start with Pittsburgh and Seattle hockey, which is we used no score after 1. I know that's bad for you, Joe, but I wish it was 2-2 or at least 1-1. But overtime-wise, it's looking okay so far.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I really wish it was 1-1 going into the second period here. So shocked that neither of those teams were able to get any points on the board. So not what we wanted to see. But one other game, Scott, I was going to say you could throw to overtime would be the Dallas Stars versus the St. Louis Blues. 6 of their last 6 games have all been 1-goal games. And we've also seen 4 of those 6 go to OT. So I do think the Blues are live and they have every opportunity of winning it in overtime. So I like the overtime bet. I like the puck line as well if one team goes up fast over the other.
Yeah, I like St. Louis tonight. I watched a lot of the Dallas-Vegas game last night. Great game. After I did the in-game live, I caught the end of it anyway. Final 5 to 10 minutes or so. Just an emotional game, back and forth. Vegas scoring late to take a 2-0 deficit to 1. They have so many great shots on Ottinger in the final seconds there. I just think it's a real tough spot for Dallas, who's going to start their backup goaltender tonight, to go then fly to St. Louis. That's a decent road trip, not cross country or anything, but still decent enough. It's not a hop, skip, and a jump like Boston to New York or New York to Philadelphia, and then play a feisty St. Louis Blues team that's playing well with their new head coach Jim Montgomery. So I like St. Louis getting odds tonight.
Oh, absolutely. Like, you look at the last game between these two, it took the Stars overtime, of course, to get that win. And it was a low scoring 2-1 game. So you got Jordan Binnington confirmed here for the St. Louis Blues. We know how strong Jordan Kyrou, Jake Neighbors, and Robert Thomas has been out there on the ice. And like you said, that wear on the Stars last night, what a game. I tip my hat to Jake Ottinger. He was just absolutely killer in goal. He stole them that win. Those saves that he was making, Scott, I still couldn't believe how fast he could move out there on the ice and how he really stole them the game there over the Vegas Golden Knights. So hats off to him, but of course not him. Casey DeSmith in net tonight for the Dallas Stars. So you got to think the St. Louis Blues offense can hit them and then lock down on the defensive side, just like the Stars would like to do. But I just don't think they've got it in them to do that tonight after last night's game either.
Yeah, I know FanDuel's offering up 23.5 saves for Smith. I like the over on that. I just don't think they're going to play great defensively. They average around 27. I looked it up, and I thought maybe, just maybe, with the backup in there, they give up a few more shots, but it's actually around 27, between 27 and 28 for both goaltenders. But I just think that, just being gassed just a little bit after last night's emotional win, that they might give up a couple of more scoring opportunities. So we'll run down all the NHL, in a little while. Vandy, college basketball, just knocked off Kentucky, and as our producer Greg pointed out, it's true. Vandy beats, what's like the number one team in the SEC over the last, 15 years, right? 10 years, Alabama, right? Historically and everything. So Vandy beats Alabama in football. And then what's the number one team basketball-wise in the SEC? It's Kentucky, right? And they beat Kentucky in basketball. When's the last time Vandy has beaten Alabama in football and Kentucky in basketball the same year? That's your assignment, Greg. Just see if you can find that. I bet it's ever, to tell you the truth. I mean, how many times has Vandy beaten Alabama in football alone? It's a handful of times only. So I bet it hasn't happened more than once or twice, literally in the last 50 years. So
such an impressive win, too, Scott.
Yeah.
Right? You look at that first half, 41 points in the first half out of Vandy, and they held Kentucky to only 27. So they came out just flying in that first half, which they needed because they did allow Kentucky to get back in the game in the second half. If you were hoping Kentucky could come all the way back, they just weren't able to. They did put up 42 points over 33 for Vandy, but because of that first half out of Vandy, it was done. But Vandy was a 2.5-point dog going into this. We had a total of 142, 143-ish. They flew over that total with the 74-69 win.
Yeah. Arizona State, boy, this is a tough one. Welcome to gambling if you had Arizona State today. They're getting 9.5, 10.5 at home, Joe, against number 3 Iowa State. We used this in our opposite picks last night. And Arizona State getting, we'll just say 10, leading at the half 40-33. So you're up 7, you're getting 10. Obviously, you're up 17. You're kicking yourself because you didn't play Arizona State on the money line. You should have doubled down. You loved Arizona State. There's no way they're going to lose by double digits, right? Second half, they're outscored 43-21, and they lose by 15. Don't even come close to covering. Wow. Forget about winning. They lose by 15. Welcome.
I'm shocked by that. I didn't expect them to lose it, right? Like, I expected them to come out and get the win. So mind-blowing there. It looks like North Carolina's up by 4, 53 seconds left in overtime here, Scott, with Boston College. So,
that's a good
man, a good game.
That's a fun game to watch. That thing blew over. I know it was in overtime, but that went over in regulation as well. Dookie Pukey's just underway. do like the under with Duke. I'm not saying that because it's 5-2 with 13 and a half minutes left, but I did like the Duke is one of our always under teams with the voice of the podcast. So nice little start for the under anyway with that one 5-2. Florida blowing out Georgia. Still, I'm surprised, Joe. I thought Georgia would make a little bit of a run here, but so far it hasn't happened. 13 minutes left, 61-37. I hope we don't get there's great games in the SEC later on tonight, including Auburn and Tennessee. I'm waiting, Joe, for one of these SEC teams to just win on the road. In fact, you don't even have to win on the road. Just be competitive. When it's two ranked teams, it just seems like that ranked home team wins all these games, and they're not even close in the SEC. So I'm hoping Tennessee makes it close tonight.
Yeah, I really hope they're able to as well. But yeah, looking at Cooper Flagg, I want to look at Cooper Flagg for Duke here to see his points and rebounds. I'm going to look at that after the break, and if we can jump in on it.
Saturday, January 25th is a huge day at Gulfstream Park. It is Pegasus Cup Day. We're going to have a preview show. First Bet presents the DRF handicapping show for Pegasus World Cup. Alexa, tell us more.
Yep, Friday, January 24th. Make sure to tune in on SportsGrid TV from 2 to 3 p.m. to see the show. If you miss it then, don't worry. It airs again on Saturday at 11 a.m. We're going to talk about all the major contenders in the Pegasus Cup.
Special guests Bailey Armour, Samantha Perry, and Randy Moss will join us. Don't miss it.
He did nothing for 5 weeks. So he's becoming his brother. So I don't want to hear about how great TJ Watt is with his 0 playoff wins. And he's the first guy to admit it. He comes right out and says, I've never won a playoff game. I don't matter. All right, at least we all know who the best player on the team is. It's George Pickens. If you don't believe that, well, then screw you too.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
We'll see if they get McCain back. Kelly Oubre, Yabusele's been good. Caleb Martin's a defensive specialist. Andre Drummond can still give you, almost a double-double at any point. I can't go south on this team. And now you're giving it to me at 2-1 to make the playoffs? To be in the Final 8? Folks, give me the Philadelphia 76ers to make the playoffs at plus 210.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
We all know MVPs don't win the Super Bowl. It's not about MVPs, man. The only MVP, fine. Win the MVP in the Super Bowl. Nobody cares about the MVP in the regular season besides people that bet on it, the actual player themselves, and their agent that's getting a cut of the bonus money. Other than that, who cares? What do you care who wins the MVP? Like I said, unless you bet on it. Right? If you bet on it, fine. Then I guess you care.
Sports Rage tonight. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Joe checking out a little college basketball as we close out hour number 1 with the Dookie Pukies on top of Wake Forest 12-6 midway through the first half. Over-under was 136 or so to start the game. It's already down to 125.5. So I did like Duke. Duke's a monster under team, but we've talked about this on our other shows. You would think Duke would be high scoring and everything, but not this year. They're not, they can score, but they play great defense. Shire's got them playing good defense, and they're an under team. So I think I'd even play under 125.5. And if it got down to 120 or so, then maybe I would go back onto the over. But I do like playing their unders. It's been pretty productive so far. So Baylor, there's a lot of games going on, Joe, but it's just a lot of the, Incarnate Word versus Southeast Louisiana, Radford versus Presbyterian, a lot of goofy games. Most of the better games were either played earlier today or will be played later on tonight. But college basketball, anything else going on? Did you find your Cooper Flagg props?
Yeah, I did. So I can't find a live number to jump in on him to bet him on FanDuel, but if you do have it on your books, I took him for assists and rebounds combined over 12.5. Looking at him right now, he does have 2 rebounds on the board, 0 assists. He's gone to a 5 from the field. So I do think Cooper Flagg can come out strong in this. I still have a feeling he's going to go over the rebounds and assist numbers. Hopefully it's not the rebounds and the points. I was thinking about going that way, and I think that number was like 19.5. So I decided to go with the assist because you're right, Scott, they do play in lower scoring games, but I expected Duke to come out here and be able to get the win and the cover. Now that spread right now is they're up 12-6 is 13.5. Going into this game, it was right around 11.5, 12.5. It did tick up to before the game kicked off. I'm still confident laying the 13.5 versus Wake Forest. It seems like everyone wants to take the dog in Wake Forest there plus the points, and I'm just not buying into it. I think Duke is a much stronger team and can get things done. But I looked at Minnesota coming into this one versus Oregon. I like the home court advantage. So they're leading at 44-36. And coming into this game, they were a dog, right? Scott, 4.5 point dog at home. So I grabbed them plus the 4.5. I like that total to the over going in, which was like right around the 140 mark right now. As I just look at that live number, 159.5. Scott, can it keep going over the 159.5? Minus 106 to the over. That's so high.
Yeah, I like the over too, Joe. 7-1 over for Minnesota at home this season, the last 8 home games. So I did like Minnesota a little bit as well. I wouldn't, now they have to win the game, which they just might at this point. But now you want to do a little middle now. You take Oregon plus some points. They are 16-3. Minnesota only 10-9, but 14-5 at home, which is a halfway decent home mark. So they do play good basketball at home. But the over/under, you're right. That's the one. Would I want to go back in on that? 157. Yeah, you know what? I probably would. I think that's actually a halfway decent number. You got 82 now at halftime, 44-38. So good competitive game. Both teams scoring. I don't think it's not one team getting blown out. So they're going to go at the halftime thinking we got to change things up here a little bit. So knowing that you're already past the halfway point, I would go over 157. I'd rather do that than take Minnesota and pick them because they can easily blow a 6-point lead. Yeah. So
right, especially coming into this, like. You could have looked at them coming in if you wanted them on the money line at plus 164, right? Or plus the 4.5. I grabbed them plus the 4.5. I didn't touch the plus 164. So if I wasn't happy with them at that point, even though they've got the lead right now, I'm not going to jump in. One game that I'm really shocked by, and I'm still shocked by this one, every time I look at where these teams are sitting, is Georgia and Florida. I thought Georgia would be able to hold it tight. 11.5, 12.5 point favorites for Florida coming into this. Scott, they're just blowing them out of the water. 67-37 right now. That spread is 31.5. We came into this show and I said, no, I got to jump on them right now. Look at that spread. It wasn't high enough, Scott. It's just crazy to see Georgia fall apart in this game like this. Live total 146.5, minus 122 to the over. This game feels like it's completely done. I wouldn't touch it. Yeah. Would you?
No. And I'll tell you, this is a good example of how trends are just like worthless, right? Although I will say 29.5. Are they really going to lose by 30 points? I mean, Georgia is a good, 14-5? They're not ranked. They're one of like the few teams in the SEC that's not ranked, but they're still like really, really good. Whatever their record is, 14-5 or something goofy like. I would take a flyer at 29.5. But just to tell you what trends are worth, road teams in this series, 8-5 straight up, 13-0 against the spread. That would be Georgia getting 10.5, now down 30. So much for a great trend.
Terrible trend.